I'm sure I've done videos in the past about human rights, but it's not something you can really just be quiet about, is it? It's not something you can just, allow to happen when you see it being abused. The real problem we have is we get people who act righteous. They try to position themselves as the voice of the people. Really, it's all attention seeking for some of these people. And it's downright evil. So we get sports personalities, we get celebrities, we get politicians. You just get vocal activists. And like I say, a lot of time it's just shit coming out their mouth, in all honesty. And so I am quite picky about who I sort of admire, respect. And it's very few and far between, in all honesty, because I see through the bullshit quite quick. And I was thinking about something even just a little earlier, really, because I've already made on my website somewhere. Let me just see if I can get it ready. I've made a blacklist, and I will be adding to this blacklist, by the way. This will be continually evolving. These are people and entities that I would never, ever want to deal with. Now, I'm not someone that's easily antagonized and things, so I don't really care. So, I mean, like, for instance, let's say you was in the spotlight, you was doing well, all of a sudden someone hears you don't like them or something, and they start to get all vocal about it, and they try to goad you into reactions. I don't really care. If you know I don't like you, then that's my opinion on it. I don't need to go any further if I choose not to. And trying to get you to get feedback on that is irrelevant. So it's just that's the way people behave, though, because they just want the constant validation and attention. So some of these people on my blacklist, perhaps most won't even care. Maybe all would never care, but you just never know, do you? Because with these people, they don't like people not liking them. They have to be focal point, center of attention, and admired. And it's like, no, I see through your bullshit, though. So before I get onto this list, I'm going to make a point that, you never know when life picks up for you. You never know when a career opportunity comes, and anybody and everybody, you just don't know. But it's up to us as to discern whether something matters to us more than something else, whether our principles matter more than anything. Because you put some money in people's face and they sort of change their attitude, don't they? And we see it where people just don't stick by their convictions, or they were weak-minded to begin with and they never had moral compass. So they either never had a moral compass, or it was easily sold. That's the average person, and that really is. I mean, you see it all the time. So if it's about standing on your principles, but you're going to be poor, how many people really stand by those convictions? So I was thinking, I'm going to write something up after I do this video. I'm going to sit and type it up. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to have stipulations. Now, this may never happen because you may never get a contract offer. You may never get some big offer that, that goes into the mainstream media or something. Because you just, who knows when something happens, whether it does or doesn't. But I'm going to write it up. And I'm going to stipulate, and this is probably going to be a deal breaker for most opportunities, in all honesty. But once I've done it, this is something that would have to be inserted into any contract that's going forward that's to do with what I do, the work I do. So, of course, if you're just going to work in normal industry, you're just going to do like logistics, warehouse work, anything that's traditional, it's obviously not going to matter. You're not going to stipulate that inside a normal working condition. But in terms of creative industry, yeah, this will be a deal breaker for me. And so I'm going to show. Let's just do it, and then I'll explain what I'm going to do with that, because this means a lot to me, and I'm about principle, and I'm very stubborn like that. So I can't be the way I see it is my soul cannot be bought, traded, or any other form of manipulation. Waving gold treasure in my face is not going to change my convictions. So I'm not weak-willed or have low moral compass compared to so many especially in the entertainment industry. So let's just get this cleared up, because I'm going to put in this paragraph or two, if I've got to try and word it, I'm kind of trying to think about it, but I'm trying to say that if any of these entities are related to the work I do somehow, it's going to be really good, because when I think, I'll start editing it. But the point is, I don't want an affiliation with any of these people. And if any of these people are affiliated with me or the work I do, either immediate or third party, because then I have the I have the freedom of choice to cancel this contract, with, I'll find the right way of saying it, but you say penalty free. So I can leave for free if any of these people are associated. Because what I don't like is that you can do a deal with someone. So someone could say the right things. You could sit there and think, yeah, this is a good fit. I like this. People might know you don't want to work with them. So what do? They get a middleman. So all of a sudden you deal with someone, you think this is a good fit. Yes, I can work like this. I like it. I feel comfortable. Little do you know, the ones you absolutely despise and you would never ever work for are above that person, and they're the ones profiting from what you do, or they're dictating stuff. No. If there's any chance that that's happening, I should be able to walk away free, because I'm never going to be bound and burdened by these people, and it's not going to happen. So if I have to do a contract and they come up with a load of terms and I read it and I'm comfortable, my only stipulation would then be that my terms have to be implemented in this too. And if they say we can't honour that, I'll say, well, there's no chance of me signing it then, because I'm never ever risking myself being tied to these people at all in my lifetime. I'll just continue doing what I'm doing, and I'm comfortable with that. So we go through it. Now, I am adding Tyson Fury to this. I don't normally I try not to be too specific with names too much right now, because the real problem is the list could go on forever. But I just want to, I'll explain that one in a minute. But we've got people like Donald Trump, we've got Oprah Winfrey, we've got Kenneth Copeland, dodgy as shit, evangelist, Tom Cruise, because I don't like the Scientology stuff, the way they push it. It seems very corrupt, and if you go far enough in, it's crazy. Then we've got Erica Kirk, never liked her to begin with. Even her husband, I didn't agree with his principles and these values, but you wouldn't wish bad on people, but she seems to have profited greatly from it. So I think she's far more dark and sinister than she let on. And she doesn't, these people, they don't even try to pretend to be nice either. I find it really weird. You can see it. I can't be the only one that looks at her and just sees pure evil, surely. But anyway, and then we've got like all these different names, yeah? And these are people I would never deal with at all. I don't want a conversation with them. I don't want them anywhere near me. Intimidation tactics or anything else they try in my lifetime, if they ever did, wouldn't work for shit. I just don't care. You're not going to get a reaction out of me. I don't like these people. Now, I tried to leave Dana White out of this list. I don't think I ever put his name on. That's why I tried putting sports personalities, because I just can't be asked to add all the names. But he's getting more and more vocal, Dana White, in a public setting, and I don't like his views. He doesn't value the people that work for him. He likes slavery. You can tell by the way he behaves. He's got no values, and he tries to intimidate journalists by the way he talks is very dominant. So he lies an awful lot, and he'll say to a journalist, "Do you think I'd lie?" Like, and he tries to be really dominant and assertive. Like, if I was there, I'd say, "Yeah, I do. I think you'd lie. I think you're lying now." I don't care about people's ego, and I don't care how they react to shit. It's like, mate, don't surround yourself with yes men or people you can intimidate, and then act like this is your spokespeople. These are the people supposed to be challenging you and keeping you in check. You're weak. I don't want to talk about specific people. I see mannerisms and I see through people so quickly. It's ridiculous. Dana White always does this thing with his tongue. He gets, when he's getting a bit, it's not an anxious, but he gets pent up. So as soon as he starts getting himself work up a bit and he gets a bit cocky and arrogant, his tongue starts going crazy. And it's really weird. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, calm down, you psychopath. But again, I don't like him an inch. Very wealthy individual, a lot of connections. So, it's not in the industry anyway I would be looking to, but you just don't know, do you? And it's like, there's no way on earth I'd even want to entertain someone like that in my life ever. I don't like him, but, you don't want to put every single individual on a list, but he's definitely going on there because of the influence he's beginning to have in other areas. And you just never know where that ends. So, yeah, like I say, I'm going to put a stipulation. So any contract I ever have creatively is going to stipulate that I will not work with these people, be affiliated with. And, if it turns out that the company, whoever is however it's linked, I've got to think of it. Trying to think of the hierarchy, but just try and think about the primary hierarchy, because the real problem is there's probably about 4 or 5 companies that control an awful lot of media. So you get the head company, and then you get these other little spin-offs, offshoots, and then you get others. So think of it like a family tree, like it's really strange, but that's what it is, and everything threads off of it. So you might not be affiliated, maybe get an opportunity, you're not directly affiliated to this people, but you're all under the same umbrella. It's like, whoa, no shit. I'm not being under any umbrella with these people in any walk of my freaking life. I'm happy to do a solo trip and just do shit my own if that's the case. Yeah, you know what I mean? It bothers me that much that I don't ever want to deal with these people in my lifetime. I don't like them. These are opportunists that take advantage of people and they bully others to get what they want. That's what they are. They're charlatans. And too many people, they can't see. I don't understand how you can't see through it. That's part I don't understand. I see through them immediately, and other people just seem to go, "Oh, I love them." It's like, are you delusional? Are you absolutely mental? Crazy people. I see it all the time with some of the worst people in the world, and there'll be fans just saying, "Oh, they're great. I love them." It's like, you have really no personality, do you? You just freaking hell. Do you think? Do you wake up and think at all? Like, if you did, I don't understand, because it just means you're pure evil too. Then, because if I'm witnessing evil, and I'm analysing every aspect of them, and I'm thinking that's an evil individual, that they're perpetuating something bad, but they'll hide behind some facade, and you can't see evil. Like, I don't understand. You're not seeing or sensing this shit. Well, God. So, like, here's the thing with Tyson Fury, right? He bores the living shit out of me half the time. He's a contradiction to himself every day. One minute he says this, then he says that, but it's boring as shit and it's repetitive. So he's becoming irrelevant rather fast. He was never truly relevant, but he has his highs and lows. But the reality is with these sports people, they're only relevant while they're active. So, and they all have a short shelf life. So at the moment, he thinks everybody listens to him, people respect him, blah, blah, blah. In a few years' time, no one's going to listen to a word he says because he just talks absolute shit half the time. He has a level of intelligence to some things, but I think, you know, he's trying to, what he does, he tries to come across as humble as the people. So he might have a cheap car, he might have this and that. But reality is he has an awful lot of luxury too. But he just tries to show off the other side to make him more humble. But this was a push too far for me personally. Like, I will never ever listen to a word this guy ever says ever again. It's a principle thing. I'm not someone who usually gets too deep in politics. So if someone likes one side of politics, someone likes another side, that doesn't matter. Like, you know, we all have a different way of looking at it, and maybe we don't see eye to eye because we don't quite understand. There's all these different things. When it comes to Donald Trump, for me, there is no exception. If you support Donald Trump, based on everything you've seen so far, so I already didn't like him, but it took a while for others to see it, the problem with Donald Trump. If at this point, after all the humanitarian issues he's had, the racism, the corruption, the freaking criminality, the division, the fact that he's separating families from people, you know, deporting people, he's just a dictator. He's the equivalent of Hitler. He really is bad. He's a terrible human being that should be in hell, in all honesty. So anybody that supports him in any way, at this point, you could say in the past people were perhaps naive. They made bad choices, and they believed the smiles. Like, again, that's just that naivety really isn't positive, though, is it? It's like, come on, we start thinking a bit, start looking through the illusions that people paste. Trump's always been obvious like that. It's quite obvious he's a charlatan. I keep thinking of him as one of those medicine people back in the old age, you know, with the Wild West, and they come around with their medicine things and they'd say, right, we can cure everything. You drink this and you'll have the strongest limbs and all this shit. And they'll pick someone from the crowd, someone that was already placed there, and it'll look like, wow, this is a miracle. That's what he's like. He's a freaking charlatan. It's all a play. It's all an act. But we've already seen how much corruption around the world. You know, he's destabilized the whole freaking world, and everything, it seems to be timed absolutely perfectly. Even this deal with Iran, where it's just come through, that he had his birthday event, and then that day or the next day, he's signed this agreement with Iran. If you follow the pattern of behavior with him, everything's always timed perfectly. It's almost, if you think of it that way, how on earth could you time it that perfectly unless it was pre-planned? He pre-plans things. It's quite obvious. So this is for this date. We'll hold on to this. So everybody will suffer so I can make this perfect event at this perfect date. And it's just sad. It's all a game to him. It's a show. And we see the lack of humanity, the lack of humility. And there's a lot of racism, and it's stemmed to the UK. We see it in the UK now. There's so many people that are just racist as shit. It's just pathetic. You know, and they'll validate that through whatever is going on in the world. And they'll say, let's say it's someone of colour, someone of race has done something bad, and whether it's violence, whether it's just criminality, whatever it is, they go, oh, look, who is it again? They keep saying doctors and engineers because they're thick as shit. They copy-paste everything, these people. And you think, What, you don't think a white person commits those crimes too, though? Don't be naive. And it's usually these people who come out and then they're the ones that cause havoc down the street doing riots. So they smash the whole street up and shit. Well, then who did that? You guys just did that. So how are you any better? But they're all up their own asses. It's crazy. I hate racism. So for me, beyond all the criminality and all the other shit that Trump does, the one thing that is quite easily etched to him is racism. So when someone wears a hat like this and it says Donald Trump for Prime Minister, it's like, have we not learned anything? Either that is your genuine morals and that's what you agree with. You agree with every principle this guy stands for. And you only have to look over the past year or two and just look at all the things he's done and tell me that any of it's been positive. Why would you support any of that? So you're either delusional and you actually think what he does is a good thing, destabilizing the world, causing so much corruption and greed, or you're selling out because you see an opportunity to become more wealthy. You see an opportunity. No, but in fact, look, the things we don't see is what goes on behind the scenes. Tyson Fury, one would assume, I say assume because you don't know people's spending habits, but one would assume is incredibly wealthy, so money shouldn't really be a motivation. So some people might think, well, if he's wealthy, why would he wouldn't do it. He doesn't need the money. He might not need the money, but what's he going to do when he stops boxing? And what has he been promised if he aligns with this? So it looks like he's doing a deal where he's changing to Dana White's boxing branch, and you don't know what could happen from that. Is it just a boxing contract, or is there going to be some sort of part ownership in it, parts, shares? Is there an opportunity to expand into something else? You don't know with this shit, and these people are shady. So on the one hand, they might say to you, "No, I'm doing this because I believe in it," and it's like, yeah, but do you really, or are you just saying that because you actually got an opportunity to do something else? And it'll all play out later on, of course, won't it, when we see it? Because people have to start thinking about the end of their careers, especially in this situation. But this was a chance to stand by your morals, do things your own way. If you've got to work with another promoter, and you're worried about your career coming to an end, why not just start becoming a promoter yourself and make your own freaking company? Step outside of the things and actually stand by your own convictions. So like I said, it either goes to the point where you actually believe in these principles, or you've sold out and trying to influence other people just so you can gain in somewhere else. But again, either way, it doesn't look, it's not a good look, and it's not really something positive. So now, even though he's bored me for quite a while with the things he says, but in general now, I won't even listen to him. Anytime I see him now, I'll scroll off. I don't even want to look. Because you can't convince me otherwise. Like, you've already done it. And for me, this is what it is. There's certain parts of life where we have a fork in the road and decisions to make. And while some things are forgivable, I just think some things aren't. Like later on in time, you can say, "Oh, he made a mistake. He's learned from his mistake," but you'd never trust him again. That's the thing, isn't it? It's not about labeling someone for eternity and saying they're pure evil. It's not. No, he's aligned himself with someone I consider evil and making bad decisions and always up and down like a yo-yo anyway. So his mood swings are tiring, and the things he says is boring as shit a lot of the time. So that's just that. But like I said, if you're easily sold out, and the real problem is it's not just the selling out; it's the influence you have on others. Because there's going to be people that are fans of that individual who believe and trust in them because they don't make their own decisions because they're followers, and then his influence will affect their judgment and decisions. So you might get people who are loyal to him. Now all of a sudden they start favouring Trump. That makes sense. You can like someone and not like something else. You don't have to just follow. But like, this is the problem in the world, is that evil people start to get minions to do their bidding. So they align themselves to try to get impressions, And all of us could be susceptible to those manipulations in the sense that, like I said, you might get someone come up and approach you for an opportunity. You think, "Oh, this is great. They seem to have the same values." But who's behind them? And who's behind that person? And who's behind that person? So there is a level of distrust because the world is quite an evil, dark place. And sometimes what they'll try to really deflect. So let's say there's some really, really bad people. To deflect from their bad, they might try to act with some good. because then it doesn't make you look at them so strong, you know. So and that's a problem, isn't it? And then, but secretly, they're working on ways to quieten you down a little bit. So that's the real problem, isn't it? I'm not going to be someone that's going to be silenced on what I talk about and what I do. So I'm not going to have someone, and I've always worried about that. Like you get a book deal. Let's say it's a book deal. You sign a contract, and then they stop printing your books, but you've got like a 10-year deal. Well, they're going to silence you for 10 years then. Huh. That's why you need stipulations in contracts to get out of that deal. You know, if profitability or the book sales diminish to a certain level, I'm free to leave without penalty. Because it's going to be really important. I think with contracts, it's important to be as precise as possible. If you leave it ambiguous, it leaves room for argument. That's why it's so important to get the wording right, which is why I would have to word things to make it exactly precise, that if people are involved who have corruptions, convictions, or something else, then I am free to leave without penalty, because it's saying that I don't have to pay to release my contract. So that's going to be really, really important. But yeah, like I say, it's really the corruption of people, and I think it's horrible when it's someone that some people maybe they idolize. I think the real thing is people should stop idolizing people. I mean, that'd be a good start. Start thinking for themselves. So it's take on information, but don't be so loyal to things. You know, that loyalty, I think, is people's downfall. You might follow a political party, a certain person you consider iconic, whatever. You don't know the ins and outs of their life, and if people live vicariously through others, it's just sad. It really is. You've got to be living for yourself. There is something else I just want to briefly talk about, and it might go the opposite direction where you think, oh, I wouldn't have thought he'd think that. And that's this. So Keir Starmer, who a lot of people seem to have problems with, I don't really understand why, be honest. I mean, everybody has, each their own. He's been quite transparent, I think. And he's announced a ban that's coming into effect next year where under 16s cannot access social media. And the thing is, I'm very balanced, so I do try to look at every angle. Even if I don't agree with something, it doesn't necessarily make it true, you know? So I don't like social media in general. I find it draining. I think it can cause a lot of problems. It's good to be informed and know where society is at, but I think there's too much consumption of it, and then people play up for the cameras, and I don't think that's particularly healthy. So there's balances for good and for bad. But I think impressionable youngsters, I don't think it's particularly healthy. What it is, they learn things that perhaps they shouldn't be learning yet. And it's impression from people who have no right to impression people. So I consider these content creators, these influencers, are fake as shit. And people see them as role models. That's not healthy. To have these people as role models when you're developing is not a good place to be. You shouldn't be surrounded by that. You know, it's just toxic. So there is that side of things. There's another side that I genuinely think is quite bad, is we see a lot of these gatherings that happen where people, they create absolute anarchy in the community, where they'll say, well, this time and this time, and social media is a great way to galvanize that and make it, and hammer it in and make it worse. So if you see riots and shit happening and just crazy shit in your neighborhoods, it's usually incited through social media. You also see people like recording violence for entertainment, and then they post it on social media, and then they get attention from that. So then they repeat the violence. So it's just, it perpetuates a problem, because while people are impressionable, they also want attention and validation. So they seek it through this social media. So for all of that, I don't think personally that youngsters are ready to I think engage and receive what they get from a lot of what social media offers. I think when you weigh up the pros and cons, I think it's a vastly negative social media. Yes, it connects people, and I think, and this is where we have to be careful though. Let's say you're in I'm only thinking off the cusp now. Let's say you're in a toxic household where it's a bit abusive. Social media though would be a way out for people who feel isolated. So there is this is why I say I try to look at all angles. From my point of view, I think social media for impressionable people is bad. And I think it does perpetuate bullying and all those things, which are terrible for the community. But I think when you talk about numbers, if you did percentages, the amount of people I think it would benefit not to have it, even though they wouldn't like it, of course. They don't want to feel suppressed, they don't want to miss out. I think in time, in like a decade or something, I think you'll see positive progress in the youth. I think personally there'll be better role models going forward. I would hope. That's what I would expect from it. But there would be collateral damage, and it might be the ones who get left behind who are isolated. And I think that has to be carefully managed. You know, but like, a kid could say to their teacher, I'm having problems at home and all this, and there's not always the teachers listen. And I think that's for me is the worst case scenario. Or if there's something bad going on in the community and you're not aware of it, that could be a problem too. But of course, things can be circumvented anyway. You can use a parent's account to do stuff. So I don't think it's like absolute in the sense you couldn't navigate around it. The only other side I would say, and it's the first thing I thought immediately, it's not government's position to dictate the raising of your children. Again, I feel quite strong about that too. It's a parent's role, but really I don't. Again, I think it goes too far sometimes. I think parents think they're in control, but I always think everybody deserves freedom. So a child should be free in general anyway. I hate the way parents think that their kids are their possessions. They're yours to nurture, they're yours to protect, and they're yours to love. But they are their their own person. And I think people get that misconstrued. Oh, that's my kid. That's mine. This mine. This mine. It's like, whoa. They're them. They are them. They are not you, and they are not at all. I would say a pet, because even pets should have a level of autonomy. Of course, look, I'm not trying to say they don't have boundaries and stuff, but the reality is I don't like people acting like other people are their prisoners until they're of a certain age, because that's not the right. But the real problem we got is not all parents are good parents. They're not good role models. They have no structure. They're not very good at nurturing. And they're usually the ones that are letting their kids do whatever the hell they want. They go into shopping centres, they go into their neighbourhood, they cause absolute anarchy. And there's no upbringing. There's no positive parenting. And they'll be the first ones to be kicking off. Those parents will be the first ones kicking off. Oh, I should be able to don't tell my kid what to do. It's up to me to. Well, then talk to them. Teach them some shit, That's really where the problem is. And I think that's where the government's had to step in, because parents are just shit in general. Like, most of them don't have a clue. Again, you could say it's not their problem, it's up to our kids. But the reality is, and I talk about it a lot, everybody has to navigate this world together. And if you've got kids who have no positive parenting, so their social conditioning is poor, and they're going to be antisocial, and they're going to do terrible things in the community, and they're going to be an absolute pain in the arse. So if you've got parents that are not raising them to a decent standard, is it the child's fault or is it the parent's fault? It's the parent's fault, isn't it? Of course, everybody has to take accountability, though. So even the child should be listening and adhering and learning from them around them anyway. Just because a parent says, oh, yeah, Jimmy, you can smash that shit up. If your moral compass tells you that maybe that's not a good idea and it's not the right thing to do, but I've been given permission, so I'm going to do it anyway. Well, that's your own fault, because you know better than that. So that's why age matters as well, The only other thing I would say with all of that is I often think the governments don't get the ages right. I don't believe in the age ratings of movies. I think they're completely out of sync. I think 12 should be 10, a 15 should be maybe 13, and an 18 should be 16. It's just, it don't make sense. So they're out of touch. There's a 16-year-old is far more developed than what an 18 rating, it's just, none of it makes sense to me. Most of us have watched movies younger than the age rating. So then why are the age ratings where they are? It doesn't make sense, because our maturity can handle it. We can handle these steps. And I know that's only the movie industry in the ratings, but it also goes for other areas of our life too, doesn't it? So one could argue, I think it's 16. I think 16 is a bit high. I think 16 is a bit high. I think 14 and under, you could make the argument. I'd say 14 and under, 14 or 13 and under. I don't think it has to be as high as 16. I think 15, 16-year-olds are looking towards the end of high school now. They should be able to handle interacting with the world and preparing. So I think it's coddling people, saying they're all still too young. It's like, no, they're not. They can handle it. So that's my opinion on it. I know people are not going to expect that, because, I do talk about freedom a lot and autonomy, but the reality is we do have to navigate this world together. And not every influence is a positive role model, and not everybody has the maturity to be able to handle what they consume, and it can create hate. online can create a lot of hate, can't it? You know, and I think a lot of what you see, where you see people being spiteful, they're really being bullies. I think online, a lot of that is the younger generation, but they're just hiding behind fake personas. They're just typing random shit, and it's just sad. And they just bully people, you know. And it's getting people just not behaving with humility. And you know, so that we get youngsters are impressionable, and they're going to get influenced. Like I say, I get fed up with social media in general myself. I get really, really tired of it. People are just copycats, or they just spread absolute evil. They've got egos. They want attention. They want validation. They get angry when they don't get it. It's almost like they feel everything should be about them and nothing else should matter, you know? And it's just like crazy, because if we all behave like that, then who the hell would be looking at anyone? You know, and that's the way they've got to think. If you're in your little box and you think everybody should be focused on me, everybody should be investing in me, blah, 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 and everybody else felt like that, when are you going to come and help them then? You know, because everybody's just sitting there waiting to be helped. It's all waiting for everybody to invest in them, or, you know, I deserve it. And everyone else is going, well, I deserve it. No, you don't deserve it. Then you don't deserve it. No one's really caring about anyone. It's just creating that popularity race, you know, and this envy. And then the ones who already have the attention, and this is going to where it's going to affect a lot of people thinking about it now, as I say it, is I can't stand these content creators and these influencers because they're so fake and they're so entitled. And if a lot of the younger generation are going to have to be blocked from accessing social media, a lot of these influencers will lose a substantial audience. They will lose substantial audience because most mature, stable people are not interested in the shit they create. They see beyond it. They got better things to do. They're invested in themselves. They haven't got time for none of that shit. And then people don't have a target audience anymore. And I've been saying it for years, by the way. I've been saying it for years. And you go back enough through my content, through my books, you'd see what I said, where I've said the age of the influencer is dying. And I said it way before it was dying because I can see it. I can see patterns. And I knew people would soon get fed up and they'd want to invest in themselves. And as soon as they start investing in themselves, these people have no investment. Because people won't be looking at them, be looking at themselves, won't they? So instead of keep looking there and going, oh, I don't really care what's going on with their life and the tantrums they're playing. I don't really care about the drama, all that shit. I've got things to do for myself here. I want to build my own life up. So I have high standards for me. And it's like, then people will start crying and shouting even louder, trying to get attention, but you're just too busy on your own life. What the hell's the point of building them up when you can build your life up? You know? They're just chaos. And that's what they play on, though. So a lot of these content creators, they play on chaos because they know it keeps you entertained. Even if you don't like them, you're still going to watch it. Because it's like watching a train wreck. Eventually, you have to switch your mind off and just think, it's not doing me any good. It doesn't make any difference. Whether I see them struggling, whether it makes them drama, it's not even entertaining anyway. Just let them go. Let it all go. And like I said, but when it comes to the younger generation, they don't really have the maturity to handle it. So they see these people as role models, and it's just not positive. Like I said, I think parents will dictate them to anyway. Because Starmer said it anyway. He's not an idiot. He did it. He said it's a bit like alcohol. You know, maybe we ban alcohol for underage, but some of them still manage to get hold of the alcohol. So it's not like we don't know it happens, but it makes it harder, and it creates a standard in your society where people have different different expectations. So yeah, there'll be people who circumvent it and think they're heroes. Oh, look how lucky I am. I can do this. I can do this. But it's like, yeah, but most people are not going to be interested because they'll be focused so much on their own life. And that's the way I see it. Like, you've got these kids at school, they'll form better friendships, they'll actually have fun together, and they'll live their life. And then they'll focus on their exams, and they'll just focus on their career path and their goals and their dreams. And they won't focus so heavily on all this distraction that social media creates, the drama and distraction that it does. At first, they'll be fed up and annoyed. Eventually, they'll be focused on their own journey and their own growth. And I see that as a huge benefit. So it's a shame that you're having to dictate to people to see that in themselves. But youngsters especially, they need to be nurtured, you know. And again, it's so many terrible parents. But yeah, I don't want to keep hammering it. And it's obviously not gone 100% on evil destroying human rights, of course, because we could go on a huge tangent with that. But it's just, I think people just need to look at people themselves and the corruption that exists and the sellouts that there are. And it's just sad. And it's really sad in general that a select few have a monopoly on the world, because they really do. They have a monopoly on the politics, they have a monopoly on the power and the media. And you start to realize that, and it gets quite shady and scary, really, doesn't it? Because if that person has this influence on the media, that influence politics, and it gives them an immense amount of power, and there's only so many companies at the very top. So it's going to be very hard to find your way through that without being aligned with some dodgy bastard. You know? So, yeah. I would definitely do research. If anyone ever approached me, I would definitely do research behind the scenes. Who is this person? What is this company? Where is this company aligned with? Who's the parent company of this company? And is there a parent company of that company? And I'd figure it out. And if I find for a moment they're aligned with some dodgy fucker, there's no chance in hell that I would work with. And that's really going to be a problem with me collaborating with people, by the way. And I'm aware of that. There's people that have terrible mannerisms and I can't deal with it. So I've started saving a few more of these literally videos. I'm trying not to, but they do my absolute head in. Driving me to madness. Man of people that keep saying literally and shit. So let's say you was doing a collaboration, or you had let's say you had a podcast, you had guests. I can't deal with people who are just like terrible like speaking. It's just insane the way some people speak. Oh, what's one of the ones they say? Oh, I can't even remember this. The way people talk is just crazy to me. Some people say double negatives, which makes it a positive when that wasn't what they meant. So, not nobody. Not nobody's telling me what to do. You know, I know I'm going off track, but it's going to be hard for me to communicate with someone that talks like that. Not nobody telling me what to do. Not nobody. So not nobody means anybody can tell me what to do, because you've just said not nobody. So it can't be a nobody, which tells me it has to be somebody. So what you really mean within that fragmented sentence and a complete misfiring of shit is people can tell me what to do. No, that's not what I mean. Well, you didn't say it like that. You just said not nobody. So you would say not somebody, or not anyone. Not anyone tells me what to do. Or you could just say nobody tells me what to do. But the way they word it drives me freaking nuts. And when people keep saying literally, so it's going to be hard for me to sit and have conversations with people, especially influencers, because they do this shit all the time. Because they want to sound more intelligent, so they actually talk shit. And it's going to be really hard for me to sit and talk to someone that talks shit. Oh my God. So I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to navigate this world in terms of communicating with people, because I can't deal with this type of people and I can't deal with corrupt motherfuckers. So I've got no interest in sitting across the room, whether it's a debate or any otherwise, of anybody I don't respect. I've got no interest in it. I'm not even bothering going there. Some people might think, oh, you're too scared to argue, to have a debate. I don't care. I'm not interested. You don't have to sit across from each other. Now, most people, when they have debates, guess what? They're not even listening to each other. I see it all the time. It becomes a shouting match, talking over each other, and that's all it becomes. A chance for people to silence the other and be alpha. And it doesn't always mean they won the argument. It just means they shouted the most and they stopped you talking most of the time. I don't see the benefit in that shit. If I've got something to say, I'll say it in my own platform like I'm doing here. And if someone else got something to say, they can say it in their own platform. I'm not going to sit with them. I ain't going to waste my time around negative bastards. So it's going to be hard, like I said, it's going to be hard for me to collaborate with people when I don't respect the people who are in authority, and I don't really get along with the poor quality that's next to me. And it's good. I'd have a real hard time with that. Like real hard time, and I know I would, because as soon as they say something that's wrong like that, my mind would just pick it up immediately. What? Yeah, whether I'm on camera or not, I wouldn't be able to not pick it up. If anyone's seen me on my phone, anytime someone says literally, I've had a few good videos on this shit, and I weren't trying to do it here. And it doesn't matter how deep and insightful the video is, as soon as they say the word literally, I just turn it off. I can't listen to it anymore. Even if it looked like it was getting good. No, done. Done. Because they're all at it. And that's unfortunately the standard. So if that's the standard, I'm not dealing with it. I know it's gone completely off topic and it's me just on a freaking rant. And it is pretentious. I get it. But it's standards that I can't, I can't drop. Standards that cannot be dropped. And that's unfortunate. It really is. But the reality is I've been growing all this time. So I've been evolving. I watch my content back. Maybe I slip up somewhere here or there, but not all the time. And these people do it all the time. So this stands to reason. If I was to watch someone's content back and I see 3 of their videos one after another, and they're saying literally, or they're doing that double shit where they say not nobody. Oh my god! If you're gonna, it's gonna come out of their mouth while you're talking to them. Then, and somehow you got to block it out and just go, don't worry about it. Just let it go. I can't let it go. Don't go on platforms to communicate when you can't even communicate. It's just ridiculous. It's like, elevate yourself, do better. It shouldn't be that hard. Like I said, I know it's pretentious, but these are standards. You want to have poor standards? Go on a poor standard show. Go and do poor standard podcasts. Go and do crap. And a lot of them are. Guess what? They're already creating crap because that's why I can't watch it. So I don't really care how I honestly don't care how I come across. If I did, I wouldn't be saying it, would I? But these are my standards, and they're set in stone. So, yeah, in all honesty, I get a lot of signs. I talk about my spirituality a lot. I get a lot of signs about an opportunity coming, collaborations and stuff. But in all honesty, deep, as beautiful as it sounds, and it could be life changing, is that I don't actually understand how the hell it's supposed to happen for so many reasons. Logistics wise, I don't like America right now. I don't even want to travel there. It can only. I've always said to my mum that if an opportunity comes, it's probably only going to come there because the things I align with are more acceptable over there. Like, you're more open to spirituality, more open to this, and that's the case. But I don't like the political system, and I don't like the law, and I don't like the healthcare. So it's like there's too many things in America that I don't like. So I don't particularly want to go on a huge flight over to America where I don't even want to be. It makes no sense. So from that point of view, I don't even know how the hell anything's supposed to happen. And then I've just said all the other shit. It's exhausting in this world, man. I'm sick and tired of people sell out. I'm sick and tired of weak-minded people. That's what bothers me more than all of it. It's the weak bullshit in this freaking world. And people just have no standards. And they're quick to sell out for a little bit of money, opportunity, or power. All the time. And it's easy, of course, to say when you haven't got the opportunities, I wouldn't do that. But not in my life would I sell out. Not in my life would I sell out. And I haven't yet, and I never will. I don't even over promote my work. I put a picture there, but that's the best you can do. You don't see me waffling on. I see people over promote themselves at the beginning of every freaking video. They say who they are, and they talk about all the beautiful things they're doing and thinking they're better than everybody else. And it comes across, and you're like, oh, you are full of shit. You are full of shit, aren't you, you dreamer? I know I come across really negative at the minute, and I'm in one of those moods where I think this was always going to be a downer because we're talking about the destruction of humanity, pretty much. Yeah. And like I say, we've got these people we consider influencers, thought leaders, or whatever the hell they are, and they're full of shit, to be totally honest. So I don't have a lot of people I admire, in all honesty, and I don't suppose I ever will. And that's just being real, because there's too much corruption. People are easily corrupted. I haven't really come across anybody like me who actually has convictions and actually has morals. People say they do, and they behave like blah, 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 and then they soon sell out. It is what it is. But yeah, it'll be quite clear throughout my lifetime that I don't. And maybe the obvious example will be the poverty. Maybe. I mean, it is what it is. I'm doing my own thing, Talk on things. I talk about it. I'd say other people, if they ever hear what I've got to say and they don't like it, they can always say on their end and maybe explain it a little bit. A bit like Tyson Fury with his Trump freaking hat. Maybe explain why you got the fucking Trump hat. Talk about all the freaking the corruption and all the pretty much a dystopia that Trump wants to create. Tell us how you approve of that. Tell us how racist you are. How about you don't want culture in your country, Just talk about that. Let's talk about splitting people up from their families, deporting them to other countries, some of them getting murdered, some of them get put into another country that's foreign to their own. Take away all their human rights and their dignity. Let's talk about that while you get your freaking millions and you get your opportunities and who knows what else you're getting out of it. Let's talk about the fact that we don't give a shit. We want Trump. You've got to be an arsehole to think like that. I'm sorry. The argument, this is the thing. Sometimes you don't even have to wait for a rebuttal. The answer's already there. You can't be that ignorant. You must know. I mean, I haven't forgot that woman. I can't remember her name, though. I mean, is it Goody? No, Goody. I'm not good with names. I don't usually remember names too strongly. But the one in Minnesota, Renee Good. I think it's Renee Good. I don't think I'll ever forget her. When she was just trying to hold up from all accounts. She was trying to disrupt ICE agents in the community who really acting it's like a fascist, weren't they? They were just going around. It was like it was like the Nazis in Germany and trying to grab up all the Jews. It was the same sort of thing, wasn't it? Anyone that isn't a native, like, well, they call Native American. Native American is Indian. So what do Americans call themselves if it ain't Native American? What are they? American Native. They just will switch the words around. It's in hallowed ground. This is where the Native Indians were. So it's not even American soil in the way that it looks today. It's hypocrites. And then they act like everybody else shouldn't be there. And then I saw things about workers, especially Mexicans. People were getting them to do their work, and then they're calling the ICE agents at the end of the job, so they didn't have to pay them. And then they get deported and split from their homes and their families. It's like, how sick have you got to be in a community to think that's acceptable? You're just as bad as the people doing the act. You know, sick fuckers. You know, and again, if I was a sellout, I wouldn't be talking so vocally like this, would I? If there's a risk I was ever going to sell out, I won't ever. If I see injustice, I'll talk about it, and I don't give a shit. No, I really don't care, because I never fear the end. Life. If anyone, I always see this all the time where people say, "Oh, I wouldn't want to be old," and they talk about, look at it, I want to stay 20. It's like, you may never reach old age. Why do people naturally assume they're going to be old? Lifespans are different for everyone, for multiple reasons. I think worrying about that shit just is a waste of life. Talking about what matters to you, I think is a very valuable part of life, for sure. And like I said, that Renee Good, that was not justifiable. It's almost like they say this about security guards in America. A lot of them are failed cops. They couldn't pass the test, so they become security guards. Then they act like they're a cop walking around as security. It's sad and pathetic. We can all do a test of that. But a lot of times, some of these cops have a bad attitude, almost like they were either bullied at school, or they were bullies in school. But either way, they don't have the mental capacity and the emotional development to handle the responsibility of being a law enforcement, so being a leader in their community. They can't even handle it. And hence this ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Good, all because his ego was challenged. You took someone's life because your ego was challenged. How pathetic is that? And that's really the state. That's the world we live in. And again, to have a Trump hat on endorses that, because Trump endorsed the person who did it. And again, if anyone follows any of the things I've said in the past, you'll see I said they'll all get accountable. They'll be all held accountable. Noam, can't remember her first name anymore. But the freaking last name. But all of those goons that he put in positions of power, they felt they were immune. And I always said they're only protected while Trump's in office, or why he cares about them, like they're doing what he wants. Eventually, he'll kick them to the curb to save his own ass, and eventually he won't be there anymore anyway, so he definitely won't be saving them. And they lost their positions, and then eventually, I wouldn't be surprised when his presidency comes to an end, either through ill health because he's old, or old age catches up with him and he's no longer here. Whatever the reason, or his term comes to an end, these people will be held accountable by Congress. I've no doubt about that. And I said it back then. And slowly but surely, things happen. So I'm good at seeing things through before the majority. But like I say, there's no way I'm aligning myself with these corrupt bastards. There's no way in this lifetime. No, thank you. So I think when I see a sellout, I couldn't think less of them, to be totally honest. But yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it there.